Well, buenos dias. Wagwan. Welcome back to my hive, John B. I am John B. Let me know now. If you like the first story, let me know in the comment section. Because today we are going to move on to another story from Jamaica. Let me hear me Jamaicans in the air. Come now. Anyways, I want to make a big shout out and congratulations to one of my subscribers, Tyler Bailey. She has won the first Don B challenge in the story. Not take me, big up yourself. If you want to win a phone card, guys, just turn on the post notification so you can see when I put up another video, and so you can watch it, or you can answer the question them, or you can get the prize if it's right. Of course, she answered all 5 and she got them correctly, and yes, she got her credit, So this morning we're going to move on to a story called Lazy Manny from Jamaica. This author is called, her name is Shelley Robinson. Big up Shelley from Jamaica. Here it is. Lazy Manny O. The Lazy Manny here. Alright. Once there was a little boy named Manny who lived with his mother and 2 sisters in a small wooden house perched on the top of a hill. Manny did not like to gather firewood. He did not like to sweep the yard. And worst of all, he hated to carry water from the river up the steep hill. Instead, he liked to climb trees and swing from limb to limb like an acrobat. He liked to run races with his dog all over the fields. And best of all, he liked whacking the ball all over the place as he played cricket with his friends in the bright sunshine. His mother said he was lazy, and so his 2 sisters called him Lazy Manny. But he did not let that bother him. He just hated having chores to do. Manny wished he could live in a place where it was always playtime. One morning, Manny lay fast asleep in his room, dreaming about a wonderful land of playtime. Silently, the bright yellow sun crept through the window in his room. It danced gaily on Manny's clothes, thrown fearlessly over the chair. It tiptoed as quietly as a mouse up to the doorknob and splashed itself all over the old straw hat hanging there. Next, the sun sneaked up onto the bed where Manny lay dreaming. The playful sun drew a bright yellow circle on Manny's brown cheek and waited to see what the boy would do. Manny twisted and he turned his head to get away from the sun, but the sun stayed and grew hotter and hotter. At last, Manny could stand the heat no more, so he rolled over and woke up. The bright sunlight stabbed his sleepy brown eyes, and he quickly closed them again. He had to blink several times before he could open his eyes wide. The sun was shining brightly all over the room. It's coming like my room currently. Like this, the curtains that I have, it's very thin. So like 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, you will just see the sun started to be bust in the room, and I'm not ready for wake up yet. Like, you know, this to me. So what I have to do, go for our clothes and tie my eye, make it feel like it's dark, the place dark, so we can try to sleep. But it never work eventually because it's morning, so it's gonna make me just wake up. Cock-a-coodle-doo, cock-a-doodle-doo. The big red rooster crowed loudly while the hens cackled happily in the yard. It was certainly morning. Manny groaned, yawned, and stretched. Then slowly, ever so slowly, he got out of bed and wriggled into his clothes. The delicious smell of fried dumplings made him grab the straw hat and hurry outside to the kitchen. His mother was busy preparing the breakfast. "Morning, Manny. You're late getting up again?" she greeted him. "Sorry, Mama," he muttered as he eyed the plate piled high with crisp brown fried dumplings. You know the rule, Manny. No breakfast until you fetch some water from the river, his mother reminded him. Manny's heart sank to the bottom of his bare feet. Those dumplings looked so scrumptious. He wanted to sink his teeth into one right now. But he knew he had to go to fetch the water first, just like his mother said. At that moment, Manny hated going to the river more than anything else in the world. Don't look so sad, Manny. It's only 3 buckets I need, and the river is not that far. In a little while, you will be finished, and then, his mother smiled, trying to cheer him up. But Manny did not smile. He did not say a word. He only reached for the shiny metal bucket and headed for the river. As soon as he was sure that his mother could neither see nor hear him, he started to grumble. He grumbled all the way. He crawled along no faster than a snail as he dragged his feet over the dried leaves on the path. Then he angrily swung the pail from side to side. Swoosh, swoosh, it went as it slapped the bushes that grew along the path. That's for getting into my way, he scolded them. When he did reach the river, he stopped grumbling and started to shout. He knew his mother could not hear him now. I hate work. I hate work. Do you hear me? Do you hear me, river? Do you hear me? He yelled at the top of his voice. It's because of you why I have to work so hard. Why couldn't you be nearer to the house? He asked angrily. I wish you could dry up. But the river kept on flowing calmly by. This made Manny even angrier, and so he grabbed a huge stone and flung it with all his might into the river. It landed with a loud splash, and hundreds of ripples spread across the surface of the water. Manny threw in as many big stones as he could lift, but soon he was tired and the ripples were all gone and the river kept on running. Manny stood and watched for a while. At one spot, the river dashed wildly over the rocks as if rushing on a journey to some faraway place. At another spot, it gurgled with delight as it bubbled and twirled in the sunlight. How he wished he was like the river, that all day to play and no mother to give it work to do. No doubt, the river traveled to some interesting and faraway places too. Manny started to dream once more of his favorite land of playtime. The loud cry of a bird overhead made Manny jump, and he remembered that he was supposed to be carrying water. Quickly, he filled the pail and started up the hill. All the way his stomach grew like an hungry lion because he was so hungry. 1, 2, 3. This was now Manny's last trip to the river. He was too tired and hungry to grumble anymore. With his eyes on the path before him, he walked along quietly. As he neared the river, he looked up. What he saw nearly made his eyes pop out of his head. He stood as still as a statue and gazed with his mouth open. He dared not move or even blink, for fear that what he was looking at would disappear. His heart pounded very hard against his ribs as his whole body trembled with excitement. He could not believe his eyes. There, seated on a large rock in the middle of the river, was a woman. But she was not like any other woman he had ever seen. Her skin was reddish brown and her hair was jet black, reaching down to her waist. Her back was turned to him and she was combing her hair with something so bright that it dazzled his eyes. Who was she? Where did she come from? What was she doing here? There was many other questions raced through Manny's head as he stood staring. Manny's left leg grew tired and slipped. A dry twig broke with a loud snap. There was a sudden splash into the river, and in a flash the woman disappeared. Then Manny noticed something else strange. where the woman's legs were supposed to be, there was a large, shiny fish tail. Now Manny knew what he had seen. It was a mermaid, a half woman, half fish that lived at the bottom of the river. He had heard stories about them, how they sometimes came up to comb their long hair, and sometimes they sing beautiful songs that made men fall in love with them. These men would never be happy again until they went to live with the mermaid. Oh. Manny rushed into the river and looked down into the water. The mermaid was nowhere in sight. The river was clear and empty. Even the ripples were gone. She must have gone to her home at the bottom of the river. There, it was said she had many treasures, and only a few lucky people have ever gone there and returned. Manny wondered what life was like at the bottom of the river, and how he could get the mermaid to give him some of the treasures. Feeling a bit disappointed that he did not see the mermaid, Manny looked at the flat rock where she had been sitting. Something bright and yellow caught his eye. Quickly, he splashed his way through the water. He did not care that his clothes were getting wet. Puffing and panting, he reached the rock. Before him lay the most beautiful comb he had ever seen. The sunlight danced on many jewels that decorated the handle. A rainbow of colors flashed from it in the sunlight. A carving of a little mermaid was at each end of the comb. Manny stared at the comb with wonder and excitement and amazement, hardly daring to believe that it was real. He reached out a trembling hand to pick it up. As his fingers closed over it, he felt its cool smoothness. He held it in his palm and watched it glitter in the sun. It was indeed beautiful. A delighted grin spread across Manny's face. He wanted to sing, to shout, to run, and jump for joy. He climbed up to the rock, waved the comb in the air, and laughed loudly. Then he jumped back into the river and splashed up handfuls of water. Every now and then he stopped to look admiringly at the comb. What a find! What a treasure! And it was all his. He hugged the wonderful secret to himself. Back on the riverbank, Manny took out an old handkerchief from his back pocket and carefully wrapped the comb in it. This was his special treasure, and no one else would see it. Fearful that the mermaid might return, Manny hastily filled the pail and set off up the hill. Before anyone saw him, Manny quickly poured the water into the barrel and slipped quietly into his room. He did not want his mother questioning him about his wet clothes, for he might have to tell her about the comb. He knew she would tell him to return the comb to its owner. Of course, she would never believe that it belonged to a mermaid. In his room, he searched for a place to hide the comb. He was going to keep it a secret for as long as possible. No one would know, not even the mermaid, because he was sure she had not seen him take it. At last, Manny found the right place. He pulled out a chair, climbed up, and took down an old picture of his grandfather, which had been hanging there from as long as he could remember. Carefully, he slipped the comb behind the loose lining. No one would think of looking there. For the next few days, whenever Manny was sure no one was looking, he took down the comb and went into the bushes by himself. There he held the comb in the sunlight to watch it sparkle. Sometimes he rubbed it against his cheeks to feel the coolness and the uneven edges of the carvings. At other times, he slowly pulled it through his thick, black hair. All this time he wore a happy smile on his face. The third night after he found the comb, Manny had a very strange dream. This time, he was not in his favorite playland, but at the side of the river. And the mermaid was talking to him. She looked very sad. Will you please bring back my comb? She asked. Look Look at my hair. It is all tangled up and untidy. I am not able to fix it since you took away my comb. Please bring it back and put it on the same flat rock. Tell me now, you get a dream like that. You think so the mermaid will see you. Then you got dreams the mermaid. Manny opened his mouth to answer her, but the next thing he knew, he was awake and it was morning. He began to feel afraid and wished that his mother would not send him to the river that morning. The mermaid might be there waiting for him, and he did not want to see her. He did not want to lose his precious comb. His precious comb? Finders were keepers, he had always heard. The comb was too beautiful to give back. He was going to keep it. For the rest of the day, Manny felt safe. His mother had enough water, so he did not have to go to the river. One thing he was sure of, the mermaid would not come walking up to the house because she had no feet. That night, he had another dream. He was at the same place by the river with the mermaid. "You naughty boy," she scolded him. "Why haven't you brought back my comb?" Manny didn't answer. He didn't know what to say. She was smiling a little now. "Will you take it back if I promise you some of my treasures?" instead. Manny's heart leaped. Some of her treasures? No, that was something. Many treasures would certainly be better than only one comb. If he got those lovely treasures, he would sell them and become rich. Then he would never have to work again. He could spend the rest of his life having fun. Noting how pleased he looked, the mermaid asked, "Is it a deal then?" Manny nodded. This time he woke up smiling. Hurriedly, Manny dressed, took down the comb, carefully tucked it in his pocket, and headed for the river. His mother stared after him in surprise. It was the very first time that Manny had gone off so early in the morning to the river without being told. Manny ran down the path to the river. His feet hardly touched the ground at all. The word treasures kept buzzing in his head like many buzzy bees. Bursting with excitement, he arrived at the river. The place was very quiet, and there was no sight of the mermaid anywhere. In the stillness of the morning, a little shiver ran down his spine. He had expected to see the mermaid waiting with the treasures right down the rock. What should he do? No! Perhaps he should put the comb back on the rock and see what would happen. For the last time, Manny drew the golden comb from his pocket. It lay in the middle of his palm, looking lovelier than ever. Sighing deeply, he wished he did not have to return it. If only he could keep it forever. But she had promised him some of her treasures. Those must be better than the comb. His mind made up. He stepped into the cold river water. His feet felt heavy as he waded out to the rock. Halfway, he stopped. Maybe he should keep the comb, he thought. After all, it was only a dream. Who said it was the real mermaid? He stood in the middle of the river trying to make up his mind. Should he or shouldn't he return the comb? No, he decided. He was going to keep the comb for himself. He turned to leave the river. At that moment, he heard a loud splash beside him and barely glimpsed a large shiny fishtail before he tumbled into the water. Down, down he went. Down, down, down. Frightened, he struggled and kicked, trying to grab hold of something. There was nothing to grasp. Water filled his eyes, his ears, his mouth, and he kept going down. Sometimes he felt like he was floating, sometimes as if the water was sucking him into a giant machine. A few crayfish zipped past him. Pieces of river weed tangled in his hair and around his feet. A fear-sucking crab snapped a large claw angrily at him as he whisked past. He tried to scream, but everything under the water was silent. Manny was very scared. He wondered if he would ever stop falling. Suddenly, he landed with a large bump on a wet, sandy floor. Shaken and terrified, Manny looked down. Where was he? The place looked like a cave with sparkling lights hanging from the roof. A closer look showed that they were shining jewels of every kind and color. This must be the mermaid's cave with all her treasures. Gosh, what a place to be! Many treasure chests were lying around, and Manny tiptoed to one and opened it. He gasped with surprise and wonder. The chest was brimful of jewels. Eagerly, he reached out to take up a handful. So there you are! The mermaid's voice startled Manny, and he dropped the jewels. She moved closer. Her hair was now neat, and the comb was stuck in it. So you are not satisfied with taking my comb, but now you want to take my treasures too? Manny opened his mouth, but no words came. His mouth felt dry as crackers. His knees were jelly. He wanted to explain that he never meant to steal her comb, but he couldn't think of how to say it. She looked him over from head to toe. So you are the boy who is always grumbling about work. And not only that, sometimes you shout and throw stones in the river. Manny's cheeks burned like fire. What else did she know about him? His heart thudded fearfully in his chest, and he wished he were somewhere else far away. Since you are here, you might as well make yourself useful. Come with me. Manny had no choice but to follow her. They entered another cave so dark that Manny nearly screamed out. His eyes could hardly make out anything. Only a glimmer of light came from one of the corners. He stood uncertain what to do. Surely, you're too big to be afraid of the dark. You'll get used to it in no time, the mermaid said. Used to it? What did she mean? Would he be here for a long time? He did not like the sound of that. His knees trembled and grew wobbly. In here are some things I want you to clean. You'll use sand and river weed. Start in this corner first. She pushed a bundle of straw-like things into his hand, and before he could say anything, she was gone. Manny stood in the near darkness and shivered. Hot tears pushed themselves from under his eyelids onto his face. He wished he had never seen the mermaid, never found her comb, and never taken it back to the river. She had tricked him. She had not even thanked him for returning the comb, and she had said nothing about the treasure she had promised him. He wanted to grumble and yell as usual when told to work, but then the mermaid might punish him. He did not like hard work, and here he was stuck with some dirty old things to clean. He was at the bottom of the river with nowhere to run. There was nothing he could do. So, lazy Manny took the river weed and felt his way in the half-light to the corner. He picked up one of the round things and he started to rub it. Nothing happened. He rubbed harder and saw little gleams of light coming from it. As Manny cleaned more pieces, they sparkled and lit up the place. The more he polished, the brighter the place grew. Manny was so glad for the light that he worked harder than ever. He began to enjoy watching the dull copper light plates and different colored glass objects grow shiny. He completely forgot that he did not like to work. By the light from the now shiny things, Manny saw that they were golden plates and jewels of many different colors, just like those in the other cave. They were very beautiful, and he polished them harder so that they would glow brighter. I see you working very hard, the mermaid's voice startled Manny. He was so busy that he did not hear her enter. He looked up and smiled. You're doing a good job, she told him. A warm glow spread all over Manny. It was the first time anyone had ever told him that he worked well. He wanted to shout and let everyone know that he was a hard worker. He continued scrubbing the treasures. I think you have done enough for the day, and it is time for your reward. Reward? For what? Manny had even forgotten the reason why he was at the bottom of the river. A bumble of joy danced in Manny's heart as he watched as he watched the mermaid go over the shiny heap of treasures. What was she going to give him? He wondered. There were so many things there. Rings, earrings, necklaces, bracelets, and other things that he did not recognize. She picked up something and came towards him. Shut your eyes tightly, she said. Manny's eyes were brimming with excitement, so that he had a hard time closing them. He felt her put something around his neck. You may open your eyes now. Quick as a flash, Manny opened his eyes and looked down at his chest. There he saw a golden medallion hanging from a chain. Thank you, he stammered. She held up the medallion and pointed to a circle of light in the center. You see this light? It will only keep shining if you do your work and never grumble. Manny looked at the circle of light. It glowed bright red. He did not want it to stop shining. From now on, I promise, I will do my work without grumbling. I will. Good. Then it's time for your ride back to the top. Climb on my back and hold tight. Manny climbed onto the mermaid's back and held on. She swam out of the cave, and soon they were going up, up, and up. In no time, they were back in the river beside the rock. Goodbye, Manny, and be a good boy now, she waved at him. He caught one last glimpse of her fishtail as she plunged into the water and disappeared. For a while, Manny gazed at the spot until the ripples were all gone. Then he looked at his medallion. It was glowing even brighter in the sunlight, and this was how he intended it to be for always. Clutching his treasure tightly, Manny ran all the way home. That's the end of the story. This is pretty cool. Alright guys, you're at the end of the video. Thank you for watching. It's me, Don B. But before I go, if you want to win or if you want to be a lucky winner, watch the entire video, answer these 5 to 10 questions. Because yes, the more I do this, the harder and the more questions I'll ask. So, if you want to be that lucky winner, turn on your post notifications down below, subscribe, and answer these questions. It's Don B. Buzzy now.